All right, we have a breaking news report coming from the FAA that details how the Reagan Airport Tower was understaffed during the mid-air collision last night between a passenger aircraft carrying 64 people and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. Now, this report comes off the back of Donald Trump's press conference this morning, where he tried to blame the collision on DEI. He tried to blame the collision on Pete Buttigieg, on Obama, on Biden. I mean, he's a master at deflecting, but it was so incredibly obvious why he was deflecting, because a lot of the blame falls on him and his DEI policies. When I say his DEI policies, I mean his overt attempt to stop DEI practices, and in the process, scaring away civil servants, in the process, stripping away regulations, and having a lot of our institutions understaffed. So this reads, the report, reviewed by the New York Times, said that one controller was communicating with both helicopters and planes. Those jobs are typically assigned to two people, not one. And I can't wait to break down this report, but let me just remind you, AOC just tweeted out, I represent LaGuardia Airport as well as workers for JFK. Trump gutted the Aviation Safety Committee last week. Air traffic controllers, already understaffed, got Trump's buyout this week with a 1-week ultimatum to decide. It's not DEI, it's him. And Elon, too. Let me just say one more time. The air traffic controllers, who are already understaffed, got Trump's buyout email this week with a 1-week ultimatum to decide, and she sent out this post before we got the report saying that the airport tower was understaffed. I also want to remind you, Trump fired the head of the TSA, he fired the head of the Coast Guard, and again, he gutted key aviation safety advisory committee 1 week before this happened. No wonder he comes out on stage trying to deflect to Biden, to Obama, to other people. He knows that some of the blame falls on him, all of the blame. So this reads, staffing at the air traffic control tower at Reagan National Airport was, quote, not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic, according to an internal preliminary Federal Aviation Administration safety report about the collision that was reviewed by the New York Times. The controller who was handling helicopters in the airport's vicinity on Wednesday night was also instructing planes that were landing and departing from its runways. Those jobs are assigned to two controllers rather than one. So you can start to see the direct line between Donald Trump's attempt to gut all of our federal agencies of their hardest working people, replace those people with loyalists, and in the process creating an environment where we're understaffed. We're understaffed across multiple sectors, but conservatives want that. They think they need to cut down on government bureaucracy by scaring away civil servants, stripping away their protections, and offering a buyout. A buyout that led directly to this very tower at the Reagan National Airport being understaffed. Let me remind you that yesterday we got this post 12 hours before the plane crash happened. 12 hours before this happened, somebody tweeted out, an FAA employee I know confirms the agency already lacks sufficient air traffic controllers. The so-called buyouts and other attacks on federal employees won't help. Remember that fact when the flight delays, crashes, commence, and Trumpers start falsely blaming DEI or Biden. How prophetic is that? Think about this. He sent this out 12 hours before the crash even happened, and he knew they would blame DEI. And he also just talked to his air traffic controller buddy who said, hey, we are understaffed. Somebody even quote tweeted this and said, I was literally talking to the union representing federal air traffic controllers earlier today about how there's already a major shortage of air traffic controllers, and the resignation offers they all just got from OPM could seriously endanger public safety. Let me also point out, as Alex Cole says, if Joe Biden fired 100 FAA employees and a plane crash happened just a few hours later, Fox News would bring Lou Dobbs back from the dead with wall-to-wall coverage blaming it on Biden. Sawyer Hackett says, if a Democrat fired 100 FAA employees and put a freeze on hiring air traffic controllers 8 days before an airport plane crash, there would be a right-wing media frenzy for weeks. The only thing he's wrong about is that it would be longer than weeks. They would be mentioning this for years. This should be as big as Benghazi was to the right, and we need to make sure we are talking about this relentlessly so Americans understand what happens when you nuke our institutions, metaphorically, of course. So again, this reads, the controller who was handling helicopters in the airport's vicinity Wednesday night was also instructing planes that were landing and departing. These jobs are typically assigned to 2 controllers rather than 1. This increases the workload for the air traffic controller and can complicate the job. One reason is that the controllers can use different radio frequencies to communicate with pilots flying planes and pilots flying helicopters. While the controller is communicating with pilots of the helicopter and the jet, the 2 sets of pilots may not be able to hear each other. Like most of the country's air traffic control facilities, the tower at Reagan National Airport has been understaffed for years. The tower there was nearly a third below targeted staff levels. The targets set by the FAA and the controller unions call for 30 certified people, but there were 19 people present. The shortage, caused by employee turnover, tight budgets, and other factors, has forced many controllers to work 6 days a week and 10 hours per shift. And I think this just reminds us what we've already known, is that chaos has consequences. There are 2 parts to this, all right? The lead up to the plane crash, the 8 days before, well, Trump tried to gut our agencies, tried to offer buyouts, and caused many of our institutions to be understaffed. That is one piece of it. That is chaotic in and of itself. But then there's the other side of it. What happened this morning, which honestly just kind of pissed me off. When I saw Trump go up in front of the nation and just tell lies and conspiracy theories so shamelessly, blaming it on Biden, blaming it on Obama, blaming it on Pete Buttigieg. You know, I can handle that. If you want to blame it on Biden, yes, it's annoying. But when he started to blame DEI, that is next level. He is actively endangering people of color and women in America. He is actively making it harder for them to get jobs because he thinks that only white people can be pilots or something. It's almost offensively stupid. Aaron Rupar said, "All I know is that had President Biden forced out the FAA chief under pressure from his top advisor, Elon Musk, with corrupt motives, then the next week there was a plane crash that killed 60 people, Republicans would be hollering that was an impeachable offense." Tony Snark said, "This DEI shit is so stupid because they think airlines just go, hey, dark fella over there, do you want to be a pilot? No training necessary, my man. Come on down." And obviously this dude is he's saying that Republicans think DEI means just plucking minorities off of the street and then throwing them in the pilot position. That's not what it is. DEI means that if there are a wide array of qualified individuals, you want to choose the people that are most qualified, but you also want to have a level of diversity because that brings strength to any corporation, to any institution, to any country. You want diversity. Secular Talk, Kyle Klinsky said, "Republicans don't believe in government, but they want control of it. It doesn't work like that in any other profession. Imagine a plumber who doesn't believe in pipes." And this loops back perfectly to Republicans trying to take a chainsaw to our institutions, as Vivek Ramaswamy would say over and over. We're going to take a chainsaw to the bureaucracy on day one. Well, hey, maybe the bureaucracy is there for a reason. Maybe there needs to be a certain level of air traffic controllers for a reason. Have you ever thought of that? I made a video about this the other day when Trump tried to freeze federal grant spending and all of the Medicaid portals went down. I made the same point. I said, hey, the bureaucracy isn't perfect. When I pay my taxes, it's quite bureaucratic. Even when I go to the BMV for a new license and I have to wait 45 minutes to an hour to 90 minutes, yeah, it's quite bureaucratic, but I understand why it works that way. And you can take this on a really broad level. There is a reason why there are a certain amount of air traffic controllers. There is a reason why certain institutions need to be staffed at a certain level. And you can't just treat the government like it's Elon Musk's Twitter, where you come in and slash 70% of the workforce. We saw how that worked for Twitter, and it seems like the US government is going through the same thing. I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.